A local nonprofit organization is a volunteer-driven organization that is successful because of the schools, churches, civic groups, local corporations, and individuals that help them. Though a small staff oversees the program of services offered to their clients, their dedicated volunteers perform the majority of the work. The story of this group and how you can help out during Thanksgiving is coming up on Polk Place. Welcome to Polk Place. I'm Brian Lacey, and joining me in studio is Steve Bissonette. He's the president of VISTE. It's getting to be about that time of year.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having me here.
So how you doing?
I'm well.
Yeah.
And we're excited to be back. This is, this has been a difficult year for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. And we are just really excited to be back here talking about Thanksgiving.
So before we get into what you need help with, let's talk a little bit about VISTE. What exactly is VISTE?
Sure. VISTE stands for Volunteers in Service to the Elderly. It's a local nonprofit organization that was established back in 1983 here in Lakeland, and now expanding out to the western half of Polk County. So we work specifically to help seniors to remain safely and independently in their own home. And that now extends from Lakeland to Bartow, Mulberry, and Fort Meade, where we have volunteers and community support that allows us to assist over 4,300 seniors from 70 years of age. This year, right now, our eldest is 106. And all that we're able to do, we don't provide medical, we don't provide direct care. What we do is provide those support services that help people to stay in their own home. Transportation, supplemental groceries, hot meals. We have a crew of volunteers that build ramps, phone pals that call homebound folks once a week to check in on them. As you know, and so many of us have learned these past 7-8 months, social isolation is not a good thing, and that's especially true for the elderly. So we're just grateful to be able to support those seniors to help them to remain independent in their home.
I want you to talk a little bit more, and we heard the meat and potatoes of what you did, what you do, but one of the things that you talked about that you do is that personal contact, and especially elaborate a little bit more on how important it is for these 4,300 plus seniors to have that contact, to whether now it's just a phone call, but other times it was more in face, that personal chance to see somebody.
Sure, absolutely. It's probably more important now than ever, and I think people understand it more, whatever their age now. To not have human interaction, to not have social contact with people, is a precursor for a lot of fears and ills. People start letting their mind go off into directions that are often scary and unsettling. So staying in contact emotionally, physically is really important. And like you said, we do that with volunteers that call, but really every trip, every delivered meal or box of groceries is an excuse for us to have that personal contact with somebody.
State the obvious, how has COVID changed how your business model operates?
In almost every way. Obviously, the seniors that we serve, many of them deal with social isolation all the time. It's not a pandemic response, it is their way of life. So in some respects, they were actually better prepared for this than many of us who are so active every day. At the other side, having to replace that personal contact with people with a phone call is just not the same. We've noticed the biggest impact, frankly, on our volunteers, many of whom are also seniors. A lot of them, they're VISTE eligible, but they're not in our care, if you would. Part of what keeps them going is coming and volunteering. and yet they were at risk. So a lot of those folks had to step back for health reasons or concerns about exposure, and they began to struggle. So we actually expanded our Phone Pal program to start calling volunteers that weren't able to come in so regularly. We also have others that were furloughed or without jobs that stepped in. So we've had a big transition in that whole volunteer support base, and that's going to be reflected in our Thanksgiving meals as well.
As we heard in the opening, volunteers do the legwork for what you guys do.
Right.
What does it take to be a volunteer? How does one want to help you out, give back to the community?
Yeah, great question, because we welcome volunteers from all walks of life and even all ages. And all they have to do is go onto our website. It's VISTE.org, and there's an application that you can fill out online. It identifies some of the areas that are services available and the times, the dates that they're offered, so that we try and match up people's interest and availability with the various different services that we can provide. There's a lot of talk these days about multi-generational workforce. Well, we have kids that are in elementary school that are helping to decorate Thanksgiving bags. We'll show you one in a few minutes. We have college kids, high school kids doing their volunteer hours through VISTE. There are young adults that are helping because they want their kids to see what's going on. They want to experience it themselves.
One of the biggest, I want to say, high visibility things that you do is coming up. I want to break this into two parts,
Okay.
if I could. It's the delivering of Thanksgiving meals.
Yeah.
Let's break it down in how it used to work, and then talk about how this year's going to work.
Yeah. This has always been a faith journey for us, because the way it has typically worked is that we have meals prepared at the RP Funding Center. It started out, this is actually our 24th year of Thanksgiving meal delivery this year. Started out small in a restaurant downtown Lakeland, about 100 meals, and we've built up gradually over the years.
Isn't that how this all?
It is, exactly. This year we're looking to deliver 1,800 meals. So previously, those meals would be prepared in the kitchen at the RP Funding Center. We would supplement the professional chefs with volunteers. We'd have people from all over the community come. They would help to put the meals in containers and in bags. We'd have long lines of people inside the building that would help to pull all that together, to organize it so that groups would come and be able to pick up the bags and move on. We had a long line of people outside the building in the afternoon that just came. There was no RSVP. We had no idea if 100 people were going to show up or 1,000 people. And that's the faith part. We didn't know whether we would ask them to take more meals the first time around or less. So it was always this kind of belief that somehow this was going to get done, and in fact it always does. But obviously this year, we can't have large gatherings of people inside the building or outside for that matter. That line of people that came in the afternoon to pick up often went around the building, and we just can't have that set up this year. So we have partnered again with the RP Funding Center, who's been very gracious. Their new food service delivery is Levy Restaurants. They're working with us to prepare the meals and work with our volunteers to help that happen with a small group inside the building. Mm-hmm. Everything will be bagged up. And then we're asking people to, instead of just show up that day, to go online again to our website at VISTE.org and to register for a time slot and put in a zip code preference for where they might want to deliver. So if you live in the 33801, you can deliver in that zip code. And then come in your car like you would to a drive-through. We're going to have a line of cars waiting rather than a line of people standing together. Mm-hmm. And we will then check you in and then have the food brought out to your car as you go through the line, and then you'll be able to go and deliver the food to the families.
So what are the volunteer opportunities this year? What are some of the things that they can volunteer for?
Yeah, the primary need is for people to deliver. So that's the biggest need right now, is for people to go ahead and sign up to come and deliver 1, 2, 3, 4 meals. They can actually up to 10. We can accept a reservation if you would. We do have a limited number of people that can help us in the building, but we're calling upon some of our volunteers that have been doing this with us for years, who know the lay of the land and how to organize. We're relying on them most of all to keep this organized this year. So primarily it's to help deliver the food.
They say that volunteers are the lifeblood of nonprofits. One thing that you guys are doing unique, and it starts with these bags, is getting volunteers to give back to their community as school children. Talk a little bit about these bags and how that works out.
Yeah, that's great. We love these opportunities to engage kids and children in school and elementary schools and high schools. We have groups from schools and teachers throughout the county that have gotten into a habit of, they not only use this as an art project, they use this as a teaching opportunity to talk about what does it mean to be with elderly people? What does it mean to care for our parents or our grandparents? And what are some of the signs of health and indicators of a need for maybe a call for someone to pay closer attention? So we have kids, schools, Boys and Girls Clubs, civic groups, all sorts of organizations that come up and they say, you know, we'd like to do this as a project. So they decorate them. They're generic, Happy Thanksgiving. These are the bags that will be used for the meals. They'll be put inside these bags, and you can see they have a sturdy handle, so all the meals will be delivered in these bags.
Obviously, there are sponsors, there are people that can get involved,
Right.
and give of their wallets in order for this. And
Yes,
talk to me about some of those companies, individuals that make this happen.
Yes, sir. Actually, in the past, we have not, we've not gone after funding for this program. We have relied on our annual fundraising event, which is coming up in February, called VISTE Ball, and we use those funds to help underwrite these programs. This year, VISTE Ball is very uncertain. We're going to go to a virtual event. So we have taken the opportunity to look at these types of programs and said, let's not rely so much on that one annual fundraiser. Let's see if we can get some sponsors to step up. And we've been very fortunate to have Geico has come in as a major sponsor of this Thanksgiving meal, as well as Campbell's Snacks, the Campbell's Food organization. And they have said, yes, absolutely. We love the idea and the relationship to food, of course, everyone relates to. We also have the George Jenkins Foundation has agreed to match anyone's individual contribution if they want to go online, and each meal is, we're asking people to consider donating $15 a meal. And if you are so inclined, or any number of those that you wish, the Jenkins Foundation will match your gift. So we're making this a corporate sponsor tied to the community's input. If they are inclined to help us with this, we'd be very grateful this year. We want to make sure this is a program that continues.
Come back and see me again real soon, would you please?
Thank you, Brian. I'll be happy to.
It takes an army of volunteers to deliver holiday meals to those in need, and VISTE is in need of your help during this Thanksgiving season. VISTE is in need of volunteers to deliver 1,800 Thanksgiving dinners November 25th, the day before the holiday. Now, volunteers must pre-register to deliver meals. Meals may be picked up at the RP Funding Center, Entrance 2, which is located at 701 West Slime Street in Lakeland. Now, pickup begins at 2 p.m., and there will be a drive-through car line. No one will be able to get out of their cars. Now, if you need more information on how you can make a difference during the holiday season, please give them a call, 863-284-0828, or look them up on the web at www.viste.org/Thanksgiving.